Hello, everyone. My name is Adnan Qaiser, and you may know that I'm your host in this training series, which we have designed for the graduating students in different universities and young adults who have already started their professional career. So basically, if you remember or recall, we had diagnosed that there are three elements of a triangle in which are causing a little bit of problem for your induction in the jobs or getting suitable employments in your professional careers. So we had earlier identified that first there are some universities incapacities or shortfalls. Then there are certain corporate sector and industrial issues, which we had discussed at a separate level. And here we are discussing about issues which are pertaining to you for your uh, personal grooming as well as professional development. So in the three preceding lectures, we had discussed that obviously that first of all you have to change or modify your outlook towards how you look towards a life or the practical aspects of life. Secondly, we had discussed that it's very important that you come out of your complacency mode, that everything is okay and we are okay and there's no room for improvement. And the third element which we had discussed was the etiquettes and manners. Obviously, I'm not saying that you lack etiquettes and manners, but there are certain blind areas which you may tend to overlook. So today we are going to begin with the fourth lecture, and that is to develop your critical thinking. Um, सबसे पहले मैं माजरत करना चाहता हूँ कि अम, ये मेरी चूँकि उर्दू कमज़ोर है, तो इस वजह से आपने देखा होगा कि पिछले 3 लेक्चर्स या 4 लेक्चर्स में अगर इंट्रोडक्शन को शामिल कर लें, तो उसमें मुझे पर्टिनेंट या प्रॉपर उर्दू के अल्फाज ढूंढने में बहुत दिक्कत महसूस हो रही थी। तो देखिए कि व्हेन यू आर इन कम्युनिकेशन, व्हिच वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस एंड आई एम गोइंग टू टीच यू लेटर, that in communication or in verbal conversation, it is extremely important that you use appropriate words, जिनको synonyms कहते हैं। तो अनवर मकसूद साहब ने, हमारे मुल्क के एक बहुत बड़े दानिश्वर हैं, उन्होंने एक दफ़ा फरमाया था और बड़े कमाल का जुमला था कि उर्दू में बात कर रहा था, उर्दू में बात कर रहा था, इसका मतलब है कि अंग्रेज़ी आती थी। अब मुझे ये एक्नॉलेज करना पड़ेगा कि मुझे उर्दू नहीं आती, क्योंकि मैं उर्दू में जब फॉर्मल बातचीत कर रहा होता हूँ, तो उसमें जो अप्रोप्रिएट अल्फाज हैं जो कि मखसूस टोन एंड टेनर को एक्सप्लेन करते हैं, उनको ढूंढने में ज़रा दिक्कत होती है। दूसरा ये है कि आपने देखा होगा कि लिंक्डइन के ऊपर आई हैव अ ह्यूज फैन फॉलोइंग, बहुत लोग फॉलो करते हैं। अभी 2 दिन पहले ही वेनेजुएला से somebody has started following me. तो देखिए, दे आर स्पेनिश स्पीकिंग पीपल। तो द पॉइंट इज़ दिस दैट इंग्लिश इज़ अ यूनिवर्सल लैंग्वेज। मैंने पहले 2 एपिसोड में भी इसकी हाईलाइट किया था कि आप लोगों को इंग्लिश बोलने की बहुत ज़रूरत है, इस शाइनेस से बाहर निकलिए। तो कहने का मकसद ये है कि फ्रॉम नाउ ऑनवर्ड all these lectures are going to be in English language. As you have seen, the previous lectures which I had given at YouTube, they were all in English language. This is not to impress you with my English language capability, but I would like to encourage you to listen to English language and start speaking in English. Right? This is an international language, and it's very imperative for us, all of us, to understand and to be fluent in this conversational language. मेरा मकसद सिर्फ ये था कि मैं चूँकि चाहता था कि इस मुल्क के जो पसमानदा इलाकों के लोग हैं, जो स्टूडेंट्स दूर दराज के इलाकों में हैं, जो कि किसी अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी को अटेंड करने में मुश्किल महसूस करते हैं, दे बिलोंग टू सम अंडर प्रिविलेज्ड इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड और सोशल प्लेटफॉर्म। तो उन लोगों के लिए ये लेक्चर्स कुछ शायद मुफीद साबित हों, बिकॉज वो इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज में तो बातचीत करना उनके लिए मुमकिन नहीं है। लेकिन मुझे ये महसूस हो रहा है कि एक तो मेरी उर्दू की काबिलियत ठीक कम है, और दूसरा चूँकि मैंने इंटरनेशनल फॉलोअर्स को भी अटेंड करना है, दोज हु आर वेरी कीन एंड दे हैव सेंट मी एन ईमेल दैट व्हाई डू यू स्पीक इन उर्दू लैंग्वेज, तो मुझे उनके लिए इंग्लिश में लेक्चर्स तैयार करने पड़ेंगे। तो आप लोगों को अगर कोई दिक्कत हो तो यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम टू आस्क मी क्वेश्चंस एंड आई वुड बी एबल टू आंसर इट, राइट? सो let's begin with our lecture, and this is to develop critical thinking. Um, Please understand that whenever we are faced with any kind of a situation, we try to analyze it, right? That why is this happened, or why is this happening? And if you are not doing this thing, you should ask yourself, whenever you're faced with a unique kind of a set of an information, that is it authentic, right? It's very important that you find out that if it is authentic, is it real, right? Or is it based on facts? This very three elements are very crucial. And most important is, what is the motive behind this, right? Because people have certain motives behind passing on certain information or gossip, which is unfortunately very popular in our culture. So whenever you know that I had for a brief period of time, I had been a campus head in a private elite school. So I used to tell the young students that, adopt the habit of asking yourself the why of everything. That why is this happening? Because, if you pose questions to either yourself or to the others, you would begin to have the answers to all these things. So the why of everything is extremely important. Obviously, you have to be objective in this, you have to be rational, and you have to be logical using your mind. So understand that in this present era, in this world, two things are very common. First is misinformation, and the other one is disinformation. Misinformation is that somebody has inadvertently, without knowing, he or she has passed on incorrect or wrong information to you. So that is misinformation. Somebody has done it inadvertently, with unknowingly. The other thing is disinformation. Disinformation is opposed to the misinformation, which is deliberate injection of false or incorrect information. So this is very important, and I'm going to tell you why is this very common these days. Because this is used for propaganda or nefarious purposes. So when you see social media outposts, which is very common and very popular, so you should ask who is creating it and why is creating it. So you see the why of everything, that who is behind all these posts, and why, he's all the luxury of time available to that person, and why are they creating such kind of a post which are injecting certain kind of an information, or they're trying to sway your behavior or your thinking pattern in a certain fashion. So why are they doing it? So ask yourself this thing. So understand that, this today is the era of information warfare. Information warfare, there are two types of information warfare. One is obviously a formal information warfare, which we fight at an intelligence level. Intelligence is of intelligence apparatus of certain of all the countries which are assigned to look after the security and integrity of the country. So one is that is they fight a certain kind of an information warfare, which has 5 elements which you should know. If you have a notebook, please write it down. So first element of the information warfare is cyber warfare. The second one is the psychological operations, which we call the PsyOps. So psychological operations. And the third one is electronic warfare. Obviously, in the telecommunication sector, or in, so that whatever communication which I am doing, this is kind of an electronic warfare. The third or the fourth element is the military deception, obviously camouflage and other kind of thing. And obviously, and the final one is the operational security. So whatever are the operational plans of warfare, they try to hide that or to mislead the enemy with certain kind of an information. So, but the journal elements are three of any kind of this warfare, which I have told you is for propaganda or nefarious purposes. So, first of all, they're trying to sway your behavior. They're trying to influence your thinking. They're trying to modify your attitude. So, I have listed about 16 elements, which just for your information. So, first of all, is called top. The three elements are called as top. TOP. Trend setting, opinion shaping, and perception management. So TOP, trend setting, opinion shaping, and perception and management. I have gone further. I have included in ideological indoctrination. So you see, ideology or faith drives us. So if somebody brainwashes us ideologically, so then that is called as ideological indoctrination. Then is the behavioral influence. So we have a certain kind of a behavior. If somebody influences us, so that is kind of behavior influence. Then is the emotional transformation. So we always undergo at every occasion, we are undergoing certain kind of emotions. So if somebody tries to or is successful in manipulating it, so that is emotional transformation. Then is the misinformation outreach that I had told you, that somebody has tried to deliberately mislead you with misinformation outreach. Then is the attitudinal or outlook modification. You have a certain attitude, you have a certain worldview, outlook towards life, or certain kind of thing. So if somebody tries to, to manipulate it or modify it, so that is known as outlook modification. The ninth one is the viral or social media frenzy. You have seen that, with different kind of posts at different platforms, social media platform, they try to create a frenzy, a hyper. It becomes viral, and then people, it's like a mad rush, and all the people, they click it and they further share it, and then it becomes viral. Then is the narrative building. Understand? So what they say, that there are three sides of a story. Three sides of the story is my side of the story, is the your side of the story, and then there is a truth. But then the other person tries to shape up a certain kind of a narrative to influence your thinking. Then is the thoughts control. We are always getting different kinds of thoughts in our mind, and obviously, if somebody manages to influence our thoughts, so that is called as thoughts control. Then is the viewership management, because obviously you have a certain kind of a preference to see or watch different kind of entertainment programs or information lectures or whatever. So if somebody tries to manipulate your viewership or your viewing attitude, then obviously that is known as viewership management. Then is the notional regulation. Obviously, we have certain notions, we have certain ideas, we have different concepts. So if somebody tries to notion regulate, if I tries to regulate our notions, then that is that kind of it. Then there's the image building. So it is not necessarily your image building, but the other person's image building. So they are trying to create for themselves or for somebody else for which they are working. So they are they're branding that person. They're trying to create a certain kind of a generally a false image. It could be a positive image as well, but generally it's a false or a fake kind of an image. So they're kind of their image. Then is the belief configuration. We all have a certain kind of a faith or religion, if you can call it. So we have a set of beliefs. But if somebody tries to manipulate or modify those beliefs by passing on incorrect information, so that could be called as the belief configuration. I hope you're writing down all these things. You can pause the video and write them down. They are all my own ideas. You would not find it on internet. And then is the trolling pressurization. trolling, you are aware that at social media, people try to degrade you. People try to follow you, your post, and condemn it, criticize it, and then when it becomes viral, then that is called as trolling. So trolling, you come under a pressure, even if you have done a great job, even if you have done something righteous thing or a justified thought you have shared, but then people who are your detractors or who are against you, they begin to criticize. This, unfortunately, is part of our society as well, because, as I always say, that we have a degenerated society, and obviously it is sliding down the path. So people tend to criticize. Hardly I have found anybody who passes on a compliment. And if somebody gives a compliment, then that person becomes frightened or upset. I give you an example that I'm very fond of watches, and once I met a person, and I appreciated his watch, and then he removed the watch and handed it over to me, and I was stunned. I said that, why are you doing this? So he said, no, no, you like it and I want to give it to you. But later on, I learned that, he had this impression that if somebody has appreciated his watch, it has got a curse, it has got a jinx. And this has become some kind of an unfortunate thing for that person, because somebody has praised it. So this is very unfortunate in our society, that we cannot absorb healthy comments or compliments. So trolling pressurization is one thing, and the last one is psychological manipulation. You see, we have a certain kind of a psychology, and then obviously there are certain kind of influences we are undergoing every moment. So if somebody tries to manipulate or influence our psychology, that is known as psychology manipulation. So in this world or around your everyday life, you would find two types of people. They are known as friends and foes. Foe is the enemy. So, and these days you cannot trust a friend as well, because you do not know when a friend would turn into a foe. So there are two types of people. So you have to be careful. That's why I am talking about this, the significance or imperativeness of critical thinking. That whenever a set of information comes to you, analyze it objectively. I'm going to tell you the elements of the critical thinking. Uh, so you have to analyze it before believing it or acting upon that. So uh, another thing, understand that in this world we are facing with the resource scarcity. So there are different types of resources, like the fresh water resource, the air which we breathe, sweet drinking water, fossil fuel, which runs our cars and machinery and everything. Even money is in short supply. So we are facing with resource scarcity, and in this among these resources, the one of the fundamental element which these days is very popular is known as data. Data is information, any kind of an information, a set of information is data. So, data of people. How many people are there? What are their attitudes? What are their buying habits? You have seen yourself when you go on a browser, then there are algorithms and artificial intelligence. What they do, that they track you and then they start providing you the same kind of information. If you have clicked on certain kind of sneakers or joggers, or what you call, so then you keep receiving advertisements of joggers or sneakers, so because they have checked, so they have seen your preference, and when they have checked your preference, they have locked it, and they start providing you information. So data or preference of people is one of the resource which people are trying to get. Different email platforms are also, whether we like it or not, they are secretly correcting information about us, and unfortunately we cannot do anything, because when we click on the fine print, it's a long software agreement, and when we click accept, then obviously we hand over our liberty, individual liberty, and our privacy and security or secrecy to the other party, and obviously they play with it. So be careful, but unfortunately be careful. So then, so first of all is the data resources. So this is also very important. So analyze it, critically analyze what the other person's motive is. Then there are political and religious aspects. Understand, they are also to channelize our thinking and behavior. So governments do it in the name of democracy. So they say that democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But unfortunately, in practical terms, it doesn't happen. So then, apart from the politics, this clergy or the religious leaders, they also, try to influence our thoughts in the name of the religion. Obviously, we will be talking about extremism and radicalization in our society later on, which is very important for you youngsters to understand that you should be able to understand that somebody is trying to manipulate your thoughts using the force of the religion. So this clergy or the religious people, which I call as the power of pulpit, they have a pulpit, they stand on the pulpit, and this has been ongoing since Christianity. We know that the Roman Catholic Church became very popular. We'll talk about it sometimes later. That how the Pope became very powerful, and then he started to influence the kings and the empires to wage wars, or and that's how it started expanding the religion in Europe and across. But understand that the power of religion is there, and they try to manipulate you or influence you, compel you in the name of the faith. So whenever you are faced with this kind of a situation, so objectively ask yourself, am I being used or am I being abused? So there is a difference. Sometimes you are being used and sometimes you are being abused. So being used is a positive thing. You're contributing it. But then if somebody is trying to manipulate your thinking, then obviously that person is abusing your thinking, and you are being used as a pawn. We, in the chess game, we play pawn. So it is a game of somebody else, political, religious, economic, business, whatever, or state to state relations. So, but you are being used as a pawn. So whenever you are faced with certain kind of a situation, sit back, take a step back, and then objectively analyze that, is it true, and for what purpose is it trying to come to you, why it has reached you, who is creating all this kind of an information or a post, and what is the motive behind it. Very important. So critical thinking, understand, it is to kind of foster your logical or rational thinking for truth seeking purposes. So this is critical thinking, basically is a truth seeking mindset, using logic and evidence as its foundation stones. So it is to avoid intuitive, emotional, or a knee jerk reaction. We'll be talking about later on that whenever we are faced with a certain situation, we have two responses. One, we react, and the other one is response. So reacting is called as a knee jerk reaction. When we hit our knee somewhere, so there is a kind of a jerk. So knee jerk reaction. So that has to be avoided. So pause for a little while, think, deliberate, and then come out with a rational response that is known as responding. Critical thinking involves three elements. Analyzing the information objectively. You see the pros and cons, all the elements of the information which has come your way, to analyze it, and then evaluate the evidence. Or if the evidence is not there, then you ask for the evidence or seek the evidence. It has to, whatever the thing or information has come to you, it has to be substantiated with certain kind of an evidence. If it doesn't come, then it could be fake or falsifying. Then forming a reasoned judgment based on structured process. So the third element is when the information has come, you have analyzed it, you have found out the evidence, you have found out its authenticity, and then you have to apply your own mind, which obviously the nature has provided to you, to use your own judgment. And if you recall yourself, I had told you that we have three kinds of consciousness. First is the consciousness, the second is subconsciousness, and the third is unconsciousness. Consciousness is what we see, what we experience in our everyday life at this moment. That is consciousness, right? This fan is revolving. That is my consciousness. Whatever I have experienced in the past of all my life, that is part of my subconsciousness, right? So whenever a new set of information comes to me, I will analyze it based on that subconsciousness, right? But then there is something which is known as unconsciousness, is something which I do not know. I'll later on I'll give you the quotation of Donald Rumsfeld. He was a U.S. Former U.S. Defense Secretary, and he had said that we have three things. There is known knowns, one there are known unknowns, and then there are unknown unknowns. We'll talk about it. So the elements of critical thinking is analysis. First of all, anything comes analysis, interpretation. Second is interpretation, is something has come, analyze it, interpret it, and then draw inference. Inference is very important, that you apply your own mind and then you conclude what is it about, right? So inference is very important, and then you evaluate it, you see where does it stand, what is the integrity of this kind of an information, and this is very important. So evaluate it, and then explanation. You obviously, when this information comes to you, then obviously it is in a brief form. So you explain it to yourself, that why is this, why it has come to me, what is the purpose of it, and what is the explanation, what is the theory behind it. And then self-regulation. Critical thinking element is self-regulating, because there would be nobody else who would come and give you critical thinking. You have to do it yourself. You have to adopt a habit of developing critical thinking. So we have discussed all the elements of critical thinking, and lastly, for critical thinking, four elements are very important, which I would tell you the first one is being open-minded. In the last chapter or in the last lecture, I had told you that our mind is like a parachute. It works well when it is open. So parachute works well when it is open, right? So it's extremely important that you should be open-minded. If you have rigid thoughts or confined thinking, then obviously no new idea or thought or reasoning could come into your brain, and obviously it would restrict your personal growth. So be open-minded. Then be skeptical. Skeptical means question everything. Why is this there? Even if some friend has provided this information, be skeptical. What you call take it with a pinch of salt. So ask questions, clarify it, pose queries, and then try to find out the depth of it, the background of this, and then ascertain whether the accuracy and precision of the information. Very important. As I told you earlier, that it's when any kind of an information comes, or somebody provides you certain kind of a thought or a belief, then ascertain the accuracy or precision of that kind of an information. And then obviously is being objective. You have to be impartial. You have to take your emotions out of it. It's very important, because we are commonly in our culture or everywhere, they say that we have two different, we think through our mind as well as from our heart. Biologically we don't think from our mind, from our heart, but emotionally, when some information comes to our way and we analyze it and we interpret it, in kind of a love situation, obviously, our mind stops working, and then obviously we are driven by emotions. So in that kind of a thing, we are thinking from our heart. So it's extremely important. So be impartial and objective in this kind of way. And then the four frameworks which are of critical thinking are called the four C's. C, A, B, C, C. Is first is the communication, is a free flow of two-way communication, because obviously when something comes to you, you would be posing questions, you would be having queries, you would be asking questions. And then collaboration, because if the other person doesn't collaborate with you as a partner, because when you ask further questions and that person doesn't provide you information, then that is not collaboration. So communication, free flow of communication, and then is the collaboration is very important, and then is the creativity, because obviously when some information comes to you, you apply your own judgment and your own thinking, and you come out with a different set of information. So that is called as creativity. And then obviously is the last thing is critical analysis or critical thinking. Obviously, key skills are to distinguish, what you call that, separating the grain from the chaff. When the before we make the when we harvest a wheat crop, then obviously we come out with certain kind of a grain. So we have to separate the chaff with the grain. So that is called as distinguishing what is there. Questioning. I have told you to pose questions, pose queries, logical reasoning, apply your logical mind, what is happening, and then obviously is the last element is your problem solving. So the first of all I have told you that this is very extremely important, that whenever information is posed to you, do not take it in good faith. Try to be skeptical. I'm not trying to make you cynic. I'm not trying to alter your thoughts, but I'm just trying to advise you to develop a habit of asking questions, the why of everything. Why is this happen? Who is behind this? Why is this providing me this information? What is the motive of that person? So when you do this thing, then obviously if there is a problem, then obviously you would be able to solve that problem. If they is trying to enhance your education or your knowledge base, then obviously it will help you, and then it become part of your unconsciousness, because something you have experienced it, and it will continue affecting your belief and your thoughts, and it's going to regulate your emotions, and it is going to regulate your IQ, which is known as the intelligence quotient. We'll be talking about more about that. So I end this lecture here. I know these lectures, the 3 lectures, are going to be a little long, but it's very crucial for you to understand all these elements. So develop a habit of critical thinking. When you develop a habit of critical thinking, obviously you will have more depth in your personality, and obviously you will become a more rational and a reasoned person in your life, and you will have an objective worldview for the rest of your life. Thank you very much. With this, we come to the 4th element, and subsequently I will come again with the 5th, and we'll continue with this kind of a training. Look after yourself, and goodbye from my side. And once again, extremely sorry that I would not be able to continue these lecture series in Urdu language because of my own inadequacy. I'm not very fluent in formal Urdu conversation, and I'll try to pass on the information, whatever little information that I have, to you in English language. Take good care, and Khuda Hafiz for now.